You are live, hopefully. Check, check.
That's always the question.
Yeah, always a question. Check, check, mic check. Can everybody hear me? Say something in the
Hey,
chat, please. Let me know. We have the Betonstorter always in the house. What up?
it seems to work. It seems to work.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see if we can get some comments. If anyone, I see we have 6 live viewers. Can someone just drop something in the chat? If you can hear me. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Nice. I see Discord people are represented.
In the house.
Yeah, man. How's it going? How's it going, Bob?
Doing fine for a Black Friday day. Didn't encounter any problems so far.
Nice.
So
That's
everything
good.
running smoothly for my clients. Didn't receive any alerting calls.
Yeah,
What's about you? The
that's
same?
good, man. That's good, man. Welcome back, by the way, to the show. Last week you had
Yeah,
some
good
issues,
to be
so
back.
yeah, man. I don't have to do all the talking myself anymore. That's nice. But pretty chill here, man. Happy Black Friday, Deepak. Same to you, man. Yeah, pretty chill here. I would say last few days were super hectic, but then usually on Black Friday itself is just like watching the dashboards and increasing budgets whenever needed. But for the most part, it's like pretty smooth sailing. So
Don't touch the
hopefully,
knobs. Don't push
yeah,
the knobs.
exactly. Just don't do anything. Just
No.
let it go, and then it should be fine. But I'm actually super hyped for the game today. I know
Oh,
some people
nice,
don't. I know you
nice.
don't really watch it, but I'm ready for the match at 5.
I honestly don't even know what time the Netherlands is going to play tonight.
5
5?
o'clock,
Okay,
5 o'clock.
cool.
But
I might check it.
yeah, man. All right, cool guys. Welcome. I see more people have joined. Diana, Deepak, Tom, Emil, Tonstorter, the legend, Delal, Arthur, Dam, Geert. All right, so cool, so cool. Welcome, guys. We'll drop in the first questions, and let's kick it off. So I got the first question. It's from Geert, and I want to ask it to you, Bob. Geert is our legend in the community, of course, and he's asking about full broad campaign that he started on November 10th. 50 euros a day, target CPA 30, max CPC cap of 3. Today, the client is calling that he cannot handle the generated leads and asking to cut the budget to maximum 2 leads per day. How would you handle this? So first of all, Geert, good job. Too many
Good job.
leads. Good job. But
the
how
first the
would you
first
handle
thing
this,
the
man?
first thing I would do is call the client and ask for a review. I think
Nice.
that's the first thing I would do. The first thing I would do, and the second thing I would do. Goals and clients first. So even though this isn't the thing you ideally want, especially you launched it at the 10th of November, so it's only 2 weeks ago. So you're just ending your learning period. Yeah, it's completely shite to be capping budgets right now and restricting the campaign. So yeah, that's not really nice and not really great to do. But if your client cannot handle the amount of leads right now and is asking you to step back in the amount of spend, yeah, then that's the way to go. Unfortunately for you as the advertiser, I would suggest, of course, turning on adjusting your target CPA, because right now you're running on a 30 euro target CPA. So if you're basically cutting your budget in half, I would suggest seeing what you can do with your target CPA as well, and maybe cap your CPCs a little bit further so you can get more clicks within the limited budget, basically. So that's what I would suggest doing. So try to maximize the amount of relevant clicks and maximize the amount of conversions within a lower budget. And if the client still cannot handle the amount of conversions within a lower budget, then you have to cap maybe even further. I've had those clients in the past as well. It's not really fun because you would normally like to scale, and now you have to cap it basically. But yeah, clients and goals first.
Yeah, if they can't handle it, then you've done your job really well, I would say.
Yeah.
To everyone watching, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. If you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, just drop them in the chat, and then we'll cover them. First, we'll take a few from Discord, and then we'll move on to what we see in the chat. So here's another question from Jure. I don't know. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Here it is. When you're starting out with ecom, do you run other campaign types besides Performance Max? If so, how would you allocate the budget? If you don't mind, I will actually answer. Because it's something that I have to deal with a lot. If it's a new client, I usually will not start with Performance Max straight away, just because it's super easy to set up, but it's also easy to mess up. And I think if you are just starting out, you first want to test the waters and see what you can learn from your search terms on, for example, search, but also on shopping. And in most cases, especially if the budget is limited, then I might go for a structure with more control, which is non-branded search combined with, for example, standard shopping. And then you can learn from your search terms in both campaign types, and then optimize your product feed for those search terms, for those keywords, and also focus specifically on a certain set of keywords on search, for example, because Performance Max is usually can go really broad, especially if you run Performance Max with all assets. Then another consideration, of course, is to use Performance Max with feed only, so that it doesn't run on upper funnel placements. But yeah, I would definitely recommend to just start off, if you're beginning with simple search and shopping, learn from it, and then as you progress, you can start to throw in Performance Max into the mix. And when it comes to budget, I don't really say you should only spend X% of your budget on Performance Max or any other channels. Kind of depends on how it performs. But usually
normally shopping works really well, right, in ecom. So at least that's what I see in my ecom accounts. So I tend to allocate, especially in the beginning, most of the budget towards shopping, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So start off with bottom of funnel campaigns, and then start to progress as you move on. Cool. It's a question from Adriaan, our Betonstorter. Is conversions per ad group a big thing? Sometimes I see accounts with so many ad groups. Do you have any take on this? If it's actually important to have specific numbers?
Well, Google says it looks at at campaign level for the conversion volume. So I would suggest looking at the amount of conversions per campaign. But you, of course, have a lot of responsive search ads scattered throughout all the ad groups. So if you're running low conversion volumes scattered over a lot of different ad groups, then I would still suggest to consolidate your ad groups wherever possible, in order to let the algorithm learn as much as possible to see what kind of responsive search ad combinations works best and where the conversions actually comes from. So algorithm wise, Google is saying it looks at campaign level in order to steer the algo, but in order to push the right RSA combination within the amount of ad groups you run, it still needs conversion volume at as little amount as ad groups as possible as well, to learn as fast as possible with over there, basically. So try to look at your ad group structure as well, besides your campaign structures, of course.
Do you have any thresholds for minimum amounts of impressions per week, for example, for your ad groups?
Yes. The Hagakure best practice is 3,000 impressions per week per ad group. So it's not even 2,000, Adrian. It's even higher. And it's in most of accounts, it's basically impossible to hit those kind of numbers. So what I generally start with is one unique, one ad group per unique URL. Then run your search campaigns, see the kinds of volumes you're pushing in terms of impressions, clicks, conversions. And if you are seeing some ad groups that are basically falling way behind, for example, ad groups with 200 impressions, 150 impressions per week, then I try to consolidate those with the higher volume ad groups as well, in order to see if the algorithm can work more efficiently. That's what I do. It's important to say that I always look at relevancy before volume thresholds. So try to start with as relevant ad groups as possible, and then take a look at the amount of impressions per ad group. So not the other way around.
Yeah, nice. We have a question from Alina. What are your thoughts on new proposed search campaign structure of grouping everything together and running DSA within the same campaign? So I think this is nice because it's sort of a segue from what we were just discussing. Do you usually use DSA on the ad group level, or do you use separate DSA campaigns? What do you usually like?
Normally, I tend to use them within the same search campaign. So I try to integrate the DSA ad groups within my keyword-based search campaigns. It doesn't work everywhere, especially when you're running on capped budgets. If you're running on a really broad market with generic URLs where the algorithm can mess up the keyword cluttering within your campaigns. But if you've got like a really strict servers, really straightforward URL, you're running on unlimited budgets, and you're running on a target CPA, target ROAS specifically, and restricting the algorithm with that kind of best strategies, then I think you can comfortably use DSA within your search campaigns. If not, try to set up a separate DSA campaign. Run them besides your keyword-based search campaigns. But if there's no need to do that, budget-wise, search term-wise, then I would highly suggest integrating them to increase the amount of conversions going through your current search campaigns, basically. I'm not sure how you do this within ecom.
I'm still a fan of using it on the campaign level. I also integrate it within the ad groups, and then usually I just take the same target the URLs that were already, or the landing pages that were already targeted on the search ads, the text ads. But then on the DSA, on the campaign level, I might also just set up a DSA campaign as sort of, back in the day, it was kind of fallback catch-all, but now I see that it's also driving very good performance. So yeah, sometimes I just like to keep it separate. Also, I think if you put it on the ad group level within a campaign, take a look at if it's spending at all or not. Because if not, then maybe just you want to segment it out into its own campaign, just to let more budget go through DSA, so that you can find one new keyword new keywords, new search terms, but also just see what happens when other landing pages are being targeted than the ones that you have set up yourself. So in a lot of cases, it might still depend, but I like to do both, basically. Cool. We have a lot of questions from LinkedIn and YouTube. That's nice. Guys. Keep them coming. Yeah. We have a question from Rahul. If you have one product in your website to sell, what's the best strategy? Okay, one product store. Maximize conversions or maximize conversion value? It's a
product,
nice
so it has a margin, and I think I think that's why you should steer towards a efficiency point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Well, how do you think about this, Miles?
Yeah. So I guess then you want to, from your point, it's also maximize conversion value, right? Because then you can
Yeah.
make the switch easier to target ROAS or put a ROAS target on there. I kind of agree. With one product, if you because if you have one product, then you might also be focused on CPA or cost to acquire customer. If that's not the case, then target ROAS is usually your best pick, which is in most cases the superior bid strategy for ecom.
Mhm.
And then if you're beginning out, then maximize conversion value is usually easier to use, because then you can switch to target ROAS a bit easier. Because otherwise, if you're using maximize conversions and then you get, let's say, 50 conversions or something, and you switch to target ROAS, then you're resetting the algorithm because you're switching to a new bid strategy. But if you're already using maximize conversion value and you set up a ROAS target, then it's the same bid strategy but now with a ROAS target. So then it's probably more efficient in the long run. I do see, however, and I'm not sure if it's just my experience, but I do see that maximize conversions can actually spend more and faster than maximize conversion value. I don't know if you have any similar experience in that, but I see that with maximize conversions, it's just like spends it super fast. And maximize conversion value might be a bit more conservative, but might be only my campaigns. Did you see anything like that ever?
No, no. To be honest, most of my campaigns run towards lead gen, of course. So what I do see, if you do not set a efficiency target, like a target CPA or target
Yeah,
ROAS, it just goes crazy, and
yeah,
it tends to spend your whole daily budget. So I would suggest, in any case, to hop towards a TCPA or TROAS strategy, especially TROAS, because it's an ecom case in this case. So
yeah,
you can at least limit it towards your break-even point or beyond, of course.
yeah.
That's what I would say.
We have a follow-up question from Rahul, and it's how do I control my CPC when I'm using maximize conversion bid strategy because I'm getting high CPCs? So I know you have your vision on this. What do you say?
Portfolio bid strategies is the way to
That's
go.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you create a portfolio bid strategies from tools and settings on the upper right corner within your Google Ads account, you can basically create the same bid strategy, but there's an extra setting that you can select. It says advanced settings of some
yeah,
sort in English, and over there you can type in a max CPC in order to cap your CPCs, and that's really powerful, because if you're not leveraging that part, then the average CPCs within your account tend to go loco,
yeah,
and tend to, well, in some cases go x5, x10, x your
yeah,
average CPC in your account. So I would
yeah,
highly recommend using a portfolio strategy.
yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, Rahul. Just make sure that if you set a CPC cap, that and your average CPC, let's say, is €1, don't put it at like €1 or even below that.
Yeah.
Make sure that you give the algorithm a bit of room above your average CPC, but then it still helps to cut down on those like crazy spends that you will get. All right.
Let's get a question from Discord, Miles. Maybe
Yeah,
this one is nice from BRG. We cannot import
yeah,
it
I have it.
into the. Oh, you have it. Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have to do it manually, but it's okay. I will put it here for
Cool.
omni-channel. This one, right?
Yeah, I think this one is a nice question for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so for omni-channel retailers, do you segment out certain product categories that are more focused on driving traffic to physical stores than necessarily driving profit? So, yeah, if footfall in your store is super important for your brand or for your client's brand, then you need to make some decisions there. Actually, I haven't run local businesses, local retail since I don't know 2.5 years. So I don't know really about the latest on the nitty gritty level, but I do know like you need to make a decision upfront, like which which product categories might be most important to drive people to the store. Could also be specific, like price points or anything, maybe something that you have a sale on to get additional attention on. And you can also measure store visits. Maybe actually recently they have removed store visits. I'm not actually 100% sure. If anyone knows, just let me know in the chat. I don't know if you
I
know.
think you can still include them in your primary conversion column as a primary conversion action. So what I would say regarding this is, if you want to segment out certain categories, because of course what Miles already said, store visits are more important for certain product categories than online sales, then create 2 PMax campaigns, for example. Create 2 different campaign goals. Let the algo steer for as many store visits as possible within the one campaign, and in the other campaign you can basically just steer on online sales towards a certain ROAS target or whatever. What you can do, however, is combining the 2. So what I also have seen people do is basically work with conversion values for the amount of store visits that are coming through in Google Ads, and basically recalculating your target ROAS, taking into account the amount of store visits coming from your Performance Max campaign, for example. And that's a nice way to approach this as well. But of course, it depends on if you want to segment out certain categories. If you want to do that, then create separate campaigns with a separate campaign goal. If it works for all of the product categories and all of the underlying products, then you can combine the 2 as a primary conversion action and recalculate your target ROAS based on the average store visit value. That's what I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do a few questions like rapid fire. Spend like a minute on each. I think there's some discussion in the chat with Geert and Adriaan around the
nice.
portfolios. Yeah, I like it. So it's actually a follow-up question. Can CPC caps limit on your portfolio bid strategies? Can they limit the algorithm?
Yes. If you set them incorrectly, then you can limit the algo and limit your impression share. So what Miles already said, do not cap your CPCs just above your average CPCs of your high converting keywords, for example. Give them enough room to bid more aggressively in certain cases, because sometimes you just need to bring more money to the table in order to be able to get some of the ad positions, in the auction that you're running into. So what I generally do is start off by a time 2.5x the average CPC as my max CPC cap, and then just check your search term report and see if the max CPC cap is actually hitting your averages. So if there's room, then you're okay. Of course, sometimes it will hit your cap, but if you are seeing that it hits your cap constantly and you're losing out of impression share because of absolute top positions or top positions, then you have to set it a little bit higher. So do not set it and forget it. You have to absolutely take a look at it now and then, in order to not miss out and actually hurt and limit the algorithm. So it's a good question, Adriaan.
Especially on a day like today, on Black Friday,
you
might want to increase it to a few times higher than what you normally have, because especially if you use seasonality bid adjustments, then the algorithm is gonna push really hard and just push for higher CPCs, and then you really might limit it. Cool. Let's see
I
what
think
else.
Geert agrees with me. I think Geert also caps it on twice the historical average CPC. So that's also what I tend to use, like times 2, times 2.5, and I think you're pretty safe with that.
Yeah. Cool. A quick question from Clarissa. How are you managing phrase and exact match types? How do you set them up in ad groups?
I personally still use both of them. I tend to use quite generic keywords as phrases, and I tend to build out my exact matches based on the actual long tails that I find in my search term reports that are actually driving high impressions and a good amount of clicks. Why do I still build them out as an additional set of new exact keywords? That's because I am a big believer in consolidation. So if you consolidate your ad groups, you basically limit the amount of ads you can serve out. And on ad relevancy level, you sometimes have a problem because, well, it tends to map with a lot of different search terms, So you need that ad relevance. So in order to still have a good ad relevancy, I tend to use dynamic keyword insertion. And dynamic keyword insertion is inserting the keyword that triggers the search term. So a lot of people still think that the search term, the actual search term people search for, is including in the dynamic keyword insertion. That's wrong. The keyword that triggers the search term is being included in the dynamic keyword insertion part. So
that's a nice golden nugget, man. Nice.
Yeah, that's why I still build out high volume exact keywords and still add them into my ad groups. Because if the algo wants to go for a higher ad rank and it needs to include the keyword, then you can still, well, basically make use of that part. So that's how I manage it. And well, we can have a great discussion about other stuff regarding managing keyword match types. But this is the first thing that came to mind.
This is super interesting, man. As a follow-up question, actually, from my side, because I see now that Google Reps, and people also know this from their experience, Google Reps are pushing full broad setups now like crazy. What would you say is the best way to go forward? Like, would you still see a use case for phrasing exact? If
absolutely,
another question: should you run full broad, or should you still consider phrasing exact?
I still use especially exact match within a lot of my search campaigns. Besides, of course, phrase and broad. I tend to use phrase and broad because of capturing all the hopefully relevant traffic besides the exact match keywords I'm already targeting. But if you run on broad match only and phrase match only, then it can basically, of course, your campaign will run quite good if it's hitting your strategy, but you will miss out on the ad relevancy part, and that's what I just meant by including your exact keywords. So consolidating, using broad, all great technologies, and I think everyone should do it. But I think a lot of people are basically neglecting the ad rank part. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, quality score isn't that important anymore. Ad rank is not important anymore." I still think it does, because it determines how much you pay, and it determines what your ad position in the SERP will be. So you can influence that positively by just building out high volume exact keywords using dynamic keyword insertion and give it a little boost over there. So that's my current vision. It's basically a hybrid between how we used to use the keyword match types and how you use the algos, use broad match and all these smart bidding functionalities, of that. So that's how I think about it.
Nice. Okay, maybe one or two final questions. One from Kamal on LinkedIn. And this is directly for you because it's excluding ecom. For which industries would you recommend Discovery or PMax, and with what audiences? So I know you do quite some discovery for your lead gen clients. What would you say to this question?
First off, start with discovery. What I tend to see, my lead gen clients are really performance based. So they all have a very strict target CPA. what I see with upper funnel campaign types like discovery is that it's very hard for discovery to hit the performance targets of times 2 the non-branded search target CPA of all of my clients. Most of them, discovery is not able to hit those kind of targets, even when I'm basically multiplying the TCPAs because it's upper funnel. So for prospecting purposes, I tend to see that discovery doesn't really tend to work very well. What it does work well for in most of the cases is remarketing, and that's something I learned from Matt Bowen, if I pronounce his name correctly. He's also a big believer of discovery, but especially towards the remarketing side. Discovery is really cheap traffic because the inventory that it's run on was not used by many advertisers. It's chasing though because of Performance Max, of course, but you can scoop up relatively cheap traffic with discovery, and if you combine it with your remarketing audiences, it tends to work within your efficiency targets, like a specific TCPA or TROAS. So also for ecom, this is also something to test with, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Performance Max is the second one. I also run Performance Max campaigns for most of my lead gen clients, but I tend to only enable PMax for lead gen if we already basically maxed out our search campaigns and are looking for additional volumes besides the broad match expansion, besides the DSA ad groups we've already created. So if we basically are looking for new volumes, then I'm basically starting to experiment with Performance Max. And what I see is that it's still, it will cannibalize a lot with your other bottom of the funnel lead gen campaigns. And then sometimes it will grasp a little bit of the upper funnel networks. And that's really different from client to client. But in that case, I would give it a try. But I won't start immediately with a PMax campaign. So max out your bottom of the funnel dedicated campaign types first. That's what I would say in summary, basically.
Sounds good. Awesome. Yeah, I think we're already over time. So that was a great final question, I think.
Great addition.
As always,
I see in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you.
No
so regarding the keywords that you use for your search campaigns, Geert is saying with small budgets, I tend to go full broad. That's something I completely understand, because the point I was making is that you only want to include and build out your keywords when you are driving high volumes. So you don't want to build out and add all the exact keywords if you're basically only running 5 impressions per keyword per month. You want serious volumes over there before you want to include them within your ad groups. So I completely understand Geert over here.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah,
cool. Then as always, subscribe. Wow, every week I'm messing this up, man. I was like, this is gonna be so cool. Yeah. There we go. If you want to have a weekly newsletter with the advanced Google Ads tip, you can subscribe to the PPC Edge on ppcmastery.com/blog. I think most of you are actually already in the community, but maybe if you're watching on LinkedIn and you're not in the Discord community, join us here on this link, ppcmastery.com/community. We're over 2,100 Google Ads specialists right now, so super cool. You can see like some of the questions, especially in the beginning, are also from Discord. And finally, I went all out with the designs here.
Oh, wow.
We have Black Friday. Yeah. I made a banner. We have our Black Friday sale that is now it's the right one. Boom. We have our Black Friday sale live until Sunday, so you can get 20% off Performance Max Mastery and the Google Ads audit templates. That's it, guys. Bob, any closing remarks from you?
No, I think 30 minutes is still too short for a Q&A. I think we can
so.
easily talk for like 2 hours. I think
absolutely.
it's about time to start like a podcast or something.
Yeah, man. Yeah. If you watch that, then let us know if you want us to do a podcast. It was a question from Nida. Can we watch your insights after this live? Yes, on LinkedIn. I see you're on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, this will probably just become a post, and you can check it. You can watch it back, or you can watch it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ppcmastery.com, I think. Just look for PPC Mastery on YouTube and you will find it. So yeah, thanks guys. Enjoy the rest of your Black Friday. I hope Netherlands is going to crush it today, and good luck to all of the other teams. And enjoy your day. Peace.
Ciao, ciao.